which I'm so excited about. So I collaborated with my friends over at Sunbeam, and this was just like the final pattern that we created, and this is like the final product right in the middle. And this is my dog. This is the final product featuring my dog Max, and I'm so happy. We're really happy about this launch. So I thought it'd be really fun to just walk through my process about how this pattern came to life, and just like the color palette and how we decide to pick which illustrations. So today's overview, I thought really fun to talk about my sketch process in Adobe Fresco, and just finalizing my patterns in Adobe Illustrator. Yeah, I'm so happy about today's live session. I'm so happy you're all here. Feel free to type in the chat box. Tell me where you're tuning in from. I would love to know where you're tuning in from. So yeah, I'm reading the audio. Hi, Jack. Welcome. Oh no, my audio. Okay, you can hear me now. Awesome. Yeah. Feel free to chat in the type in the chat box and let me know what projects you're working on this week. I would love to know, and also where you're tuning in from. Okay, so let me go ahead and now share my iPad. So we're going to do all like the sketches together and pick the color palette and just kind of talk more about how this came to life. And I'm also actually wearing the final product right now. And here's a quick feature of my dog's version. Yeah, we're really happy how this all came together, and I thought it'd be really fun to talk more about that today. So give me 1 second. I'm going to share my iPad. Okay, amazing. So when it came to this type of collection, we had to think about what it was like, what timing we were going to launch this collection. We wanted to make sure we were mindful of like the color palette, the season. And because we were launching it like in this like spring season, we wanted it to be like fun, kind of summer-ish, but not really. So based on the color palette, this is kind of what we decided on. And I think it's just always fun to talk more about this process and just kind of give you like a deep dive, like what made us decide as well. So I knew that I wanted to have some sort of like pink element. It's just like my branding colors that I use often. And a nice pairing with that originally was like this orange color, which we still went with this um, oranges that we have here. But basically, this is the original idea that I had in terms of like my pattern. But there was a lot of things that happened in between. But yeah, let me check in as well. Hi, Jeffrey. Welcome. Thanks for tuning in. Amazing. We're just talking about my sketch process and how this collaboration with my friends over at Sunbeam came to life, and just talking about like the sketch process, the color palette, how we decided on certain things. But I also want to know what you're all working on this week. So these were the original colors that I had in mind. And we also decided, so the final pattern ended up having a yellow leaf, but originally I wanted a green leaf. Um, so this was kind of like what what it looked like originally. Okay, and then the last color was blue. Okay. So this is kind of what we were working with, and I thought it was just, like it worked out well. I felt like it was like spring, but also just it had a nice balance. So what had happened was this. Let me open up a new layer. I think what we didn't realize was just kind of like how certain colors would be layered on on top of each other. So I think with my pattern itself, a lot of the elements are on the blue block because I wanted my illustrations to be pink as well. So I think the reason why we kind of changed it was because this green leaf was on top of this blue blob. And I think it's easy just I think it's very noticeable. We did change like the the tone or like the color of the green a little bit, making it a little bit brighter. I but the only issue that we ran into was like the thread color options. So we kind of had to like just like take a step back and think, okay, like what other colors can we add here that would make it like pop and bright? And that is the reason why we then decided to change this to a yellow, like a greenish yellow leaf, but more on the yellow side. So then it ended up, I'm trying to, I can't pick exactly what color it was, but we ended up choosing this yellow leaf. And I feel like as a collection, it kind of just like brought it really it like I don't know how to explain it, but I remember like seeing it at first just like next to each other, like this. And I was like, I don't know how I feel about this. But on top of the blue blob, it definitely was, it added like a nice pop of color that we did not expect. So that's kind of what had happened in terms of the color palette. And I think it's always good to just kind of um like test it out and see if the colors would work on top of each other. Yeah. Oh, and Jeffrey says, I love it. I'm excited to learn, and I'm working on physical stuff. I'm costume. That's amazing. Making a stormtroopers today for Disney. Oh, that's amazing. Oh, that's awesome. I love that. Oh, that's so amazing. Oh, well, thank you, Jack, for tagging our Instagram accounts. Yeah, feel free to follow along the journey. We're sharing a lot of behind the scenes today, and we're just doing like a whole deep dive, getting ready for our launch tomorrow. So we're really happy about that. But yeah, so I thought this was just a really fun take on just explaining the color palette, how we were able to pick on that. And so now it came down to, okay, so here are the four colors and what are the illustrations going to look like now? So because I thought about like spring elements and fun, I wanted to do like my typical illustrations, which is I like to draw daisies all the time. Daisies. And then my leaf. So those are typical elements that I always like to incorporate into my artwork. And then I did not know how this is gonna work out. I feel like citrus fruits, they're like in season all around, like all year. But I did not know if it was gonna like look okay, but I wanted some sort of like this like bright orange color. So we decided to draw like a citrus slice. So it was something like this. And then we just draw little details in there. I did not know how that was going to be captured with like our final product, but I think it came out really well. I don't think you can see it, but yeah. Oh, I think it's right here, like this little orange slice. Um, so this is kind of like the direction that we were going into. Originally, if the green color was going to work out, it was going to be an orange slice along with a solid orange shape as well. I feel like that would have been really fun, but because of the green, it just didn't work out. So instead, we decided, okay, maybe to like match this pink daisy, we then decided to draw like a bow. Thought that'd be really fun. Yeah, so it was something like that. So those are like the four elements that we were working with within this like color palette. Yeah. What are your thoughts so far on that? I hope it's really fun and I think it's just like always fun to brainstorm and sketch together. So I'm really happy you are all here tuning in. Go ahead. I'm just gonna take a look at the chat as well. Yeah, amazing. Thank you everyone for joining. Hi, Sean. Welcome, welcome. Amazing. Yeah, so this was kind of like the vibe that we are going for. Um, and so I like to sketch everything here in like Adobe Fresco. And what I would do is, oops, one second. Um, I like to sketch everything in Adobe Fresco first, and then I'll use my vector brushes to finalize the illustrations. Then I'll upload it to Illustrator, and I feel like it's just like a really good connection. I don't have to like trace image anything, and so I think it's really easy that way. So that's why this has like been my go-to process. Okay, let me move this leaf down here. Okay, so now I'm going to use the vector brushes. I like to use a vector round brush. Right now I have it on, let me test it out. Size 20 seems to be great. And the default on this one is usually for the smoothing, it's about like 50%. I like to turn it up to like 100 or 90. Yeah. So let me go ahead and now um, I'm just going to just trace over my illustrations. So I'm just going to first do the outlines of it first. And then I'll open up a new layer and we'll go ahead and draw the details inside. But yeah, I hope this process, it's like really fun to see the behind the scenes. I really can't believe that it's been a whole year that we've been working on this collection. So we're really happy that it's coming together. And yeah, this week we're going to be talking a lot about just like more like I'm going to actually post a video like the process behind it. So kind of like what we're doing today, but in a really simple form. But I think it's really nice that you get to kind of get like a deep dive today on all of this. Okay, so that's kind of the direction that we were going for. I don't know if my outlines were too thick, but I think I might have wanted it to be a little bit smaller, but it's okay. I'm going to just reduce the size for the inside details. So on a separate layer, I'm just going to draw the inside of the citrus. Yeah. And I'm making my brush size a little bit smaller. So the sizing of the brush is going to vary depending on like your canvas size. Um, I think this one is just like a 8.5 by 11. So for the outline, I was using like it was size 20 and now this is like size 11 for the details. I think if I could do it again, I might have reduced the size to like maybe 15 to draw the outlines. But this works too. Okay. Yeah, so this is kind of what we're working with here. So I'm just going to now hide my sketch layer and just start recoloring all of this. Okay, so my daisies and the bows, they were both pink. I think I know what happened. Okay, so I think this is like originally I was hoping that we were gonna have this like white outline, but because it was just too detailed for the final product, I ended up having to make the inside of the bow white instead, while the rest of the bow was pink. So it looks something like this. Because yeah, like if I then fill everything, then you won't be able to see it. So on a separate layer, I'm going to draw it in black first so you can see, but okay. I think this is what we ended up doing. Mm. And these are the inside details. Yeah. So I think that's what we ended up doing. And so I'm gonna fill that in and then behind the bow, something like that. Yeah. So this is going to be like behind a color background. So I think at first I was not too sure how I felt about this, but essentially this is what's going to happen. Um, this bow is going to be behind the blue background. So behind the background, I feel like it comes together for sure. Yeah, so that's kind of like the visual here. So I can leave that there. Yeah, what are your thoughts on that? I think it was just like a trial and error where I had to kind of just test it out and see what worked and what didn't. But yeah, I'm gonna now color in the rest of the elements. Hi, Ryan, welcome. Thank you for tuning in today. Oh, so Jack, that's a great question. Jack's asking, does the fact that it's embroidered and thread size impact the size of the brush you chose? So I honestly just did my artwork the way that I normally would, and then we got a lot of feedback from the manufacturer. So they didn't actually have any issues. They were able to like work with the artwork that we submitted. But I also didn't know either. This is like my first time making this type of like apparel set. And yeah, but they didn't like I think it was a really easy process. I was able to like turn in my artwork, but yeah, everything had to be like vectored, a seamless pattern, and things like that. And we'll talk all about that today in Illustrator. Yeah, so let me recolor my orange slices. Okay, so I think the inside is like that. Trying to find which layer I drew everything in. So I usually like to like if you have tuned in my last couple of live sessions, I'll just like color everything in Illustrator, but I think this is like nice to have the visual because my only issue was that I did the same thing where I didn't really like color match everything and I didn't really know like how, for example, like let me see if I can just kind of give you like a visual. Didn't realize like how the colors would like be on top of each other, just like this example. So I think that would have been like helpful to kind of visually see. Because yeah, I think all the illustrations are behind the blue background. This is kind of like what we're working with. Just to kind of see like how those two colors come together, how the balance is, and yeah, so that was helpful. So I think with that feedback, we did tweak the color of the pink a bit, just making it a little bit brighter. So it looked something like this. Yeah. It's like not so much of a drastic change, but it definitely adds like that pop and contrast. And then so yeah, so with the leaf color, instead of choosing like the green color because it was hard to see behind the blue background, we went on this like yellow greenish color, and it was also just a bit like based on what was available to us as a thread color, which I did not think about, right? Yeah, so that's kind of what that looked like. And so just to kind of give you a perspective of this, how it would all come together. Like these would all be behind these like individual squares. I don't know if this is like helpful to see, but hopefully it's like nice to kind of understand like the vision that went behind it. Yeah, so that's kind of what we're working with here. So these were like the final elements and illustrations. Yeah, let me know if you have any questions on this. I I think like these were the final illustrations that we settled on, but I know my original thoughts too. Like I'll draw like a couple more ideas that I also had if like the color palette did work out with the color green. Um, but I know I also thought, like having the full on orange would have been like really fun. Even like I think we just couldn't like add too many illustrations, but like adding like a cherry, like I feel like that would have been really, really fun with this pattern. And just like I had like a lot of ideas, but I'm really, really happy with the four illustrations that we chose. And I think it just makes it really, really come together. And it has a lot of like the spring elements and the summer and yeah. Okay, let me go ahead and okay, let me know what your thoughts are on this. I'm going to take a look at the chat as well. These drawings are in perfect timing with spring starting tomorrow. That is right. Oh, I didn't realize. Oh my gosh, that is amazing. Because then, yeah, this is like very much a spring vibe and it's happening tomorrow. Oh, I love it. Thank you, Jeffrey, for that. Amazing. Okay, so I'm going to now export this. So because I like using like vector brushes, I can just like I feel like they're kind of like ready to go files now at that point. So I like to export my artwork and I'll just open up a copy in Illustrator Desktop and that will do its thing. And I'm going to now share my screen and open up my Illustrator. So give me all 1 second here. Yeah. Okay. So I believe my Illustrator is now here and I'm just going to click on OK. And yeah, this is now all the artwork that we created in Fresco, and that's why I really like just how it comes together. So I'm just going to move all these like elements behind it and just use what we have. Yeah, I know I talk a lot about using like Fresco and then Illustrator. Since you've been like the people that have been tuning in from like the very first live session that we've been doing of like designs and doodles, have you tried this process? Have you tried using like Adobe Fresco and using the vector brushes. And what were your thoughts on that? I think it's a really fun process and it just makes it a little bit easier because I want those like hand-drawn feel and I I think it's a really seamless process. So I would love to know. Okay, nice. So this is what we're kind of like working with. So these are like couple past examples. Like this was like the final pattern that we ended up creating. And also this. And I think it was helpful to provide like a seamless pattern, which we'll talk more about today, because then the manufacturer they were able to like resize it. However, because then like for example, my sweater is like a bigger scale, and then like the pet sweater is a lot smaller. So you'll kind of like see the difference here. So I think that was just like helpful to like have and provide. Yeah. So I'm gonna put my iPad away. 1 second, everyone. Okay. So now with Illustrator, I was starting to like build it all out now. So when you are wanting to make like a seamless pattern, especially checker, just use two different boxes. So I'll do this example here. I think like two inches is great. And then just copy that and paste. I'm just gonna color pick that one. Yeah, so but if so this was like the color palette that we ended up choosing, but my original checkered that I submitted to my friend over at Sunbeam was like this color palette too. I think it was just like a really bright, summery feel, but because we wanted it to be like a spring season type thing, I feel like the splash of orange was great, but it didn't take over too much. And I feel like the blue background, it just works with all the elements that we created. Because I think, like, for example, if we did the orange and yeah, I think that's what it was. Because then if it was the orange, then we would have to put the like citrus orange on the pink, which I thought looked like amazing. But I think what happened was this. It was I just didn't know how it worked out with this one. I think I wanted the pink just to like have like more of a pop and not have the orange take over. And I think that's the reason why. Um Also for the color palette, I feel like it worked out great. Okay, so let me open up my layers in my align panel. So these are two boxes that we're going to have together. It's going to make sure that they're lined up properly. Okay, so with the checkered background, we'll just make the two boxes here and just go to File or Object, Pattern, Make. And then I like to use like break by row. There are a couple of options that you can kind of explore here. But yeah, if like for this one, I think it just depends. I just did two boxes here, but if you would like, you can also do this where it's like four boxes. Okay, let me just make sure they're all aligned using the align objects. Okay. And then you can also just make the four boxes, just like alternating colors and just go to object, pattern, make, and the grid should work out nicely. Yeah, so that's kind of like how we were going about like picking the patterns first and then adding the elements on top. So that is how we decided to create that seamless pattern. But I just realized because I wanted the illustrations to also be part of the pattern where I didn't have to like manually put it in, I also did add that all in here. So let me go ahead. Like these are the final illustrations that I did create and the final color palette. But let me go ahead and open up the sketches that we drew together. One second. Okay, so let me pick these. And I think just to make it helpful, I'm going to actually pick the proper colors that we chose. Okay. Yeah, it's a little bit different. I definitely had more time to like refine like the final artwork, but yeah, I just wanted to give you a quick idea of how we were able to like bring it together. But yeah, at this point, it was just a matter of like providing different examples because then these two colors were what we originally finalized and picked. But before I did like the pink and the orange, I also did like pink, blue, orange, yellow checker boxes. So we can explore that later. But yeah, at this point, I think it was just like a matter of picking and choosing how I want this to come to life. Um, Also, I think I had to expand on it as well, this box, because it was something like this where I didn't, I wanted to use as much illustrations as possible, but I wanted them to like alternate. So instead of it being like one row of daisies like this, I wanted it to alternate with like a daisy and maybe a bow. So then, and that's the reason why on the example on the left-hand side, I had it like I went ahead and drew out like the four boxes just to kind of really get the big picture here. Yeah, so it was something like this. So then we were able to add the orange slice like that. Yeah. I would love to know like what your thoughts are on this process as well. Yeah, so this is kind of like the idea that we were going with. And then I just like didn't realize, yeah, that I wanted it to like alternate until I kind of saw it together. Cause I think originally it was like this, where I had this example, like I think the first example that I was exploring was something like this, where it was like the leaves were on like the first row and the citrus was on like the second row, and kind of also like with the daisies as well. Let me copy this down. And I think the reason why I wanted them to like alternate and just be a little bit different was just because I like didn't know how the pattern was going to print, and I wanted like all the elements to be like kind of like all like not like in the same place, but like where you can see everything come together. Because I just didn't know like where the cutoff was going to be and things like that. So this is kind of like what I was originally exploring. Yeah. I'm gonna take a look at the chat as well. Okay. I spend way too much time in the pattern section of Illustrator. Me too, Jeffrey. Oh my goodness. I had to, there was a project that I was working on. I was only asked to like create like 3 patterns. I ended up creating 30 patterns because I couldn't decide and I just kept making more and more. And there was like so many more variations that I put together with like the illustrations. I don't know if the client was I mean I feel like they're thankful that I provided more, but I did apologize. I'm like, I don't know if I made this a little bit more overwhelming. I'm so sorry. I know it was only like 5 that you wanted, but here is 30 for review. Yeah. I don't know if you're the same way. I didn't have to provide all 30, but I think it was harder for me to sit there and decide, oh, like which one like out of the 30 that I made, which one do I love the most? Yeah. Let me take a look at. Hi, Helena. Welcome, welcome. Oh, Jack, I love that you added the Fresco. Yeah, Fresco is free. Definitely give it a try. Oh, amazing. Yeah, Jeffrey, yeah, I definitely got lost in it. And I think I gave myself like as I was creating the 30 illustrations, I gave myself like 1 hour. I think it was like 3 hours, 5 hours later that I spent so much time on it. Yeah, so this is kind of like the picture that we were kind of thinking about. And I think as seeing this pattern, it made sense to me, but I just didn't know like in terms of like for like the dog apparel. I didn't know how it was gonna like cut out like how it was gonna like work out, I guess. I didn't know if you were gonna see like maybe certain patterns up here and like not down here, and I just wanted like a full balance, and that's why we were kind of exploring and like, just like thinking, okay, like how else can we change this up? Yeah, because originally it was something like this, and I was like, oh, like maybe I can have them like go in different directions. I didn't want them to be like super uniform, but yeah, and I think this is like really great just to provide like if you are doing client work because like you can only see like like what you're creating, and you're like the visionary behind it. So I think it's always nice to provide. I mean, I know a few of my friends are like, no, don't do more work, but I think it's just helpful because it's just like building that great relationship with the client as well, and just kind of seeing like, here are the different options. Like I really care about the collection. I want it to do well. So here are like different visuals that I was thinking about. So I think that was also like one of the patterns that I added. But yeah, like just kind of like taking a look at this pattern on the like, I guess let me compare it. Let me add these two together. It's like this was like the final set that we created. Make it the same size, you can see. But yeah, just like taking a step back, I felt like this was just a lot more balanced. It just had a lot more like going on versus this one. I think I did like one more line here. Yeah, something like that. Yeah, but I think in the end, like I was really happy with like how this one like came together, but I wouldn't have known that until I created all these like different variations of them and like spent some time in like just like how it was gonna look and feel. We did like a couple of mock-up versions as well. Yeah, so I thought that was just kind of like a nice thing to see. Um, And then after like you kind of pick a pattern and you're happy with it, then to create like that s- repeating pattern, I just went ahead and just copied everything and just went to like object pattern make. And yeah, and that was that. That was like the grid option. I think I just left it like that, and I that was great. So I forgot what artboard that they needed things at. Like I just gave them the Illustrator file so they can manipulate and work with it as well. But this is kind of what's going to happen here. It's like, actually, let me create a bigger artboard. Do like 9 by 13. I'm going to, sorry, I'm going to do a couple of changes around. Oops. Okay, so this is the artboard, 13 by 19. Oh, 19 by 13, I mean. I guess I didn't do that. Oh, okay. Well, here's the idea. And then just kind of like making that swatch and then going to your swatches panel, and then you'll click on the new pattern that you made here. I think I messed, oh, I know where I messed up. I didn't even catch that. Had to paste this row down here. Yeah. Okay, but here, yeah, this is an example of also like when I was spending time doing all that those patterns. What's also happening? I felt like I double checked my work, but I totally missed that today. Yeah, so here is, let's try it one more time. Okay, and then hit done. Okay, let me just actually go on. Oh, I'm doing it. Okay, no, I chose the old pattern. So here on the swatch panel, I'm gonna delete that one and then just choose the new one that we made. Yeah. So I think this is just kind of great to see. I did, yeah, you'll see. Like I'll have to like like really take a deep dive into my pattern before I finalize it. But I mean, I made sure this was all like finalized when making the final one. But I think it's just like nice to see like as like this like scale, like what it looks like. You can also go to like transform scale, and then I think I can make it like kind of seeing like the visual here. Maybe we don't transform object and pattern. Oh, I think it's transform pattern. Yep, 150, and kind of just like seeing what the different scales look like. And that I think that's also like what was helpful to see like the visual in terms of like how like what type of scale that we wanted to see this pattern come to life. Yeah, things like that. I hope that's kind of like helpful to visually see, and just kind of like give you like a quick idea of how the patterns come together. So when I make my patterns, I just like to use it like outside of the artboard because then I can kind of really see here like how the patterns are lining up and things like that. So I would just have to kind of fix it. I didn't realize it was like really off here. I'm going to use the align tool for all of it. Okay, let me actually give you an idea here. Yeah, so like how like what I would do to like make sure that this pattern is like ready to go. Um, I would actually delete the elements first. Because yeah, I think realistically what I would just do is like just do my four patterns. Or actually, no, I think for this one, I did have to like fully expand because I wanted to make sure the illustrations were a part of the pattern too. But yeah, I would just like highlight everything, use your align tool, and make sure they're all like lined up. There might be honestly an easier way to do this. This is just what works for me, what I've been doing. Yeah. I think that's kind of what I was working with here. And just really staring at the boxes and make sure that they're all lined up. I mean, oops. I think it's a little bit off here, but I think I just got it as close as I was okay with it. And then I just decided to add the final patterns now. So you'll see here. Okay. So I just copied it and just paste the illustrations on top like that. And just kind and then that's kind of like how I just like really sat there and did this deep dive. But yeah, I hope that was really helpful to kind of like see and just kind of taking a look and like refining it uh, refining a couple of things. I think it's always nice to kind of like see it come together and yeah, just like really just enjoy the process, like uh not rush it as much as I was doing, but like just take your time doing it as well. I think with that, I'm gonna go ahead and now show you all like the other color palettes that I had in mind. And I think it was just like helpful to visually see how it would all come together. Let me actually copy this one. I'll paste it here. Yeah, so I think it was also thinking, okay, like maybe if this, actually, no, it was like the orange. How to, I wanted the blue backgrounds to be kind of like orange, but I was also thinking, like, what if it could be fun just like have like a mixture of colors? So that means I would have to have changed like this leaf as well. But yeah, I think that that's what I was kind of exploring here because like we had to make sure that the leaf ended up being yellow, but just kind of like if it was like if I had like all the colors available too, like having that green option, I felt like would add a really like nice touch to it. But I'm definitely happy with how it all came together though. But yeah, I think it was just like exploring a matter of like deciding how this could look and just I think I spent like a couple of weeks sitting there and thinking about like how this would come together. If it was like this palette, I provided like so many different options to explore. Yeah. It was like things like that, just to kind of like see like if I wanted it to be like really colorful, like what that would look like. I think. But yeah, what are your thoughts on this process? Like when you are creating something, do you also like take time just to like provide different options and variations? I feel like it's like a trial where and you kind of have to see like what works best and but like I can't visually think about that. I have to like create all of it and see okay, like now taking a step back, which one makes sense, which one comes together as a whole. The multicolored is a fun idea. Oh, thank you, Jack. Yeah. Hi, Robert. Welcome, welcome. Thanks everyone for tuning in. I'm so happy that you're all here, and I hope this process was really fun to just to get like a deep dive in the pattern making process. But yeah, like this was kind of like ideas that I was exploring, and I like made so many options. I didn't share everything with my friends over at Sunbeam, but I just provide like what I felt good about. Yeah. So like after I would make my small like swatch version of it, I'll just go to pattern make again and just kind of see like as a pattern as a whole, like does it come together? I feel like the yellow, um, I think I didn't end up like loving it just because it was just like so much brighter and didn't like work with the other colors, but I think it was nice to give it a try for sure. I think I even went as far as okay, like what if the background was like a green and then the leaf was yellow. Yeah, just like there's so many ways to go about this, right? And yeah, I think that was it. Let me see if I, yeah, so then like based on the background, there was some elements that I couldn't end up using. Yeah, things like that. And just like exploring what works, what doesn't. Yeah, like as a whole, does it come together? I feel like, like I was getting there, but I wasn't quite there until I created like this pattern set and then when I tried making it into like a swatch pattern, I feel like it just really came together so much and I feel like the color was very balanced um and it had like pops of color here but it wasn't like too much. Yeah. So that's kind of like how that color palette came to life. Yeah, and this was like the final version option. Yeah, What are your thoughts on this? I really hope you enjoyed like this process today. I'm gonna take a look at the chat as well. Let me know if you have any questions also. Aw. I'm definitely someone who likes to sandbox it and see how many different things look. Yeah, totally. I love that. I feel like it's very helpful to visually see it all come together, and it's definitely much needed. It helps me visually see because I can do all the sketches and all like the variations, but until I see like the final version of it, then it really helped me. Because then I was putting a lot of different like sketches behind, like behind the scenes, putting it together and like doing what I was doing in Fresco, but then seeing it as a whole pattern come together was like totally different. Yeah, so I'm really happy that you were able to like come on this journey with me. I really hope that you enjoyed watching my process from like start to finish and just using like yeah, I really love using the Fresco like vector brushes and seeing how like seamless I can upload it to Illustrator as well. But yeah, I'm really excited about this launch. We're really happy that's coming tomorrow, and I didn't realize, yeah, it's like spring tomorrow too. So I feel like it's like a full circle moment and really happy how it all came together. Yeah, that's kind of like the inspiration that went behind this whole thing and things like that. Um, but yeah, if you're interested in more information, take a look over at my Instagram at Letters by Shells. We're going to be posting all the behind the scenes and fun things about this project. So yeah, thank you so much again for your time today. I really enjoyed having you all here. Thank you for being a part of this journey with me. Until next time, I'll see y'all later. Take care. Bye, everyone.